Hi there, welcome back to another video over here, and in this video we're going to talk about news trading, okay, because just so nice that today, later part in this evening, okay, of course depending on when you're watching this video, but from where I am in Malaysia and Singapore, later part in this evening, we do have a very important piece of economic data that's coming out in the US, and of course that's called the NFP, non-farm payroll, which I suppose if you're active Forex trader or currency market trader, you probably have been aware of this. Okay, and today I'm going to share with you not only just the opportunity that you might want to keep an eye on if let's say you are doing news trading, you're looking to trade the NFP. This will be a very solid opportunity that you can focus on. What I'm going to touch on also is more of my personal thought and my opinion towards news trading, right? Because a lot of people tends to have different school of thoughts as to whether news trading, is it safe, is it risky, or even how do I incorporate the fundamental news into my trading. Okay, how do I balance between technical and fundamental? Okay, so without further ado, I'll jump into the chart to share with you the opportunities, and of course to share with you also and touch on the part where how I balance fundamental and technical. Right, so over here, the chart that you see, okay, first off, I think to bring you to the events calendar, you can see where I'm based on later part in the evening at 8:30 p.m. There will be not only, of course, the NFP, but that's where the average hourly earnings, the unemployment rate usually comes along with it. And later part on this Friday here as well, we do have the Canadian employment data coming out together. Okay, now how I view news is that I understand that it tends to create a certain volatility in the market. Okay, not necessarily gonna be a clear direction, because sometimes you do realize that a positive data can give us a negative movement in the price, and vice versa. Okay, so to me, I think it's news trading is not so straightforward as to like, oh, if the data is good, then we buy the dollar. If the data is bad, then we sell the dollar. Okay, because there's quite a bit of layering going into it. Like, is a positive data beating the expectation by a lot, or does it just beat by a little bit? Okay, and of course, you also need to take into account, is this data important, right? At this moment, are the Feds, are the traders and investors putting a lot of emphasis on this particular data? Okay, so it's not just about like, if you look at Forex Factory, it's not just about like green data and then you buy the dollar, red data, you sell the dollar. Okay, it's not so straightforward. And of course, I also understand that news like that, okay, especially tier 1 important data like NFP, is gonna create volatility. And what I usually like to see is leveraging on such news event as a form of catalyst to push prices. Okay, because at the end of the day, as a trader, you need to understand that if the market does not move, price does not move, you can't really make money. Okay, so you can't shy away from news, because if that's gonna be the catalyst that's gonna push price, then if every time you see a news coming out, you avoid the catalyst, you exit the trade, then there won't be a chance for you to make money. Okay, so having said that, one of the major pairs that I would suggest if you're looking to really trade the NFP, based on the method that I use to analyze. Okay, pound dollar over here presents a very clean structure. Okay, I would say setup. Okay, now first off, we'll walk you through from the daily time frame, higher time frame, down to the smaller time frame. Okay, so from a daily chart over here, you do see that we have this topping formation, double top. Okay, which again suggests more of like the higher probability is to the downside, and there's a lot of room that price can actually move lower, and that's where your huge opportunity to short the trade comes in. Okay, and if we start to go down to the lower time frame, we start to see this pattern over here, which we call it the crawl. It's basically just your diagonal and a wedge. Okay, and again, this suggests a reversal pattern. Of course, right now you are already seeing this coming down. Okay, and if I were to start going down to the lower time frame, you do see from daily it's suggesting downside, 4 hour is suggesting downside, and if we come down to the 1 hour time frame, yesterday we do see this impulse push here as well. Okay, and of course right now we are doing perhaps some form of consolidation. Okay, and what I expect over here, of course, is that from now, okay, when I'm recording this video all the way to the release of the NFP data, I do expect price to just consolidate within this range, because most of the time when there's an important data that's upcoming, on that day itself prior to the release, most of the time the price would not move a lot, right? Because most traders would be just waiting for the data to release and then they trade from there. Okay, so I do expect this to just form the consolidation from here, which is very nice and ideal for a potential news trade. Why? Because we do have higher time frame supporting the downside, and then of course on the smaller time frame here we do see this setup. Okay, you have this impulse push, and if this forms into a correction, we'll have a very nice setup that we can look to trade the breakout. Okay, and of course over here you can trade both direction for breakout most of the time, but for me, okay, I would suggest that maybe you want to pay a little bit more attention to the downside, simply because from the higher time frame the direction is suggesting to the downside. Okay, and then of course your stop here can be placed somewhere around like 30 pips, right, based on the high and the low. And you can of course write off the volatility and the catalyst from NFP later on when the news is released. Okay, so first primary area to keep an eye on, I would suggest, is you want to keep an eye on around 1.4005, okay, which is where that previous mini low structure is. Okay, suggesting that you look at that as a potential take profit one, because we might see some bounce from there. And if let's say that low, that structure is able to be broken through impulsively, then your next target would be here at 3670, which is at the previous daily low. Okay, so you do see the downside is huge, right? Okay, but one thing to take note, of course, in terms of news trading is that you do not want to place your order so early right now, as of when you're watching it. If let's say it's still very far away from NFP, it's best not to place your order first, because this pattern here can also easily develop into something like that. Okay, now if that happens, then probably you would not want to take that trade anymore, because the NFP here can push this price back up first. Okay, so I'm not saying that definitely the news is going to push price lower. I think there's still different possibilities the market can play out, but for me, based on the guidance of higher time frame, the direction I would suggest to maybe emphasize a little bit is on the downside. Okay, but of course you still want to keep an eye on maybe closer towards NFP, what is the pattern that's developing. Okay, if this were to develop really something as just a sideways move, then I would ideally still look at the sell. However, if this starts to come down before NFP and we are starting to see a lack of momentum to the downside, then perhaps NFP would be that rejection short term to the upside. Alright, so again, this is not a trade call. I think it's more of like showing you how we can incorporate news as a potential catalyst to provide volatility in the market, combine it with the technical side, understanding probabilities, understanding patterns. How do we put them together? Okay, so I hope this little video here, okay, does give you some insights into news trading. Okay, because not all the time we see NFP and then we see such a clear setup from higher time frame all the way to lower time frame. Okay, so I hope this video helps. If it does, would appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. If you have friends trading the markets, feel free to share this video, share the channel out with them. And of course, because we do a lot of sharing on a week-to-week basis over here through our live stream. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section below as well. Other than that, all the best to your trading, and I'll see you guys in the next video.